Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 9 of the PSGL F5 Championship. We're here for a favourite of the fans and the drivers here in Japan at the Suzuka racetrack, which is very, very unique. It's the only F1 track on the calendar that's got the shape of an 8, and yeah, it's very, very exciting. Hopefully today the fans love it, the drivers love it, and I do as well. I don't know what about my co-commentator in the commentary box for tonight once again and for the rest of the season, as you probably know from last week. Jake, hello and welcome.
Hello, great to be back here again. Yeah, for me personally, Suzuka's probably my favourite track in the world, so I absolutely love it. And it's quite fitting really for F5 because it's a figure of 8, and 8 is kind of the F5 magic number at the moment. We've had 8 races, and with that we've had 8 different winners. So will that streak end tonight, or will it keep going? It's going to be interesting to find out.
Yeah, well, F8, certainly one of the, or perhaps maybe the most exciting division we've got in PSGL at the moment. I mean, 8 different winners out of 8 races, that's just a fantastic stat. And, I mean, I don't think any other division has got that stat at the moment. Let's see if that streak continues. Maybe 9 different winners in 9 races. Miku still hasn't won a race, currently sitting second in the championship. And obviously Nino last week taking his first win of the season. And yeah, I know many drivers love the racetrack. You said it's your favorite racetrack in the world, and I think it's just down to the nature of the track. I mean, no part of this racetrack is boring. You've got that famous first sector with the S section, that tricky turns 1 and 2 where you kind of have to break into the right-hander, the second right-hander then. And yeah, also, who can forget about 130R, the famous corner where Fernando Alonso, for example, made that incredible move around the outside of Michael Schumacher, 2 legends fighting each other in real life. Maybe we'll see something similar today, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, definitely me as well. I think as well, one thing that has to be loved about this circuit is it's unforgiving. You know, a lot of tracks nowadays, you've got plenty of runoff, but there's so many corners around here that if you go slightly off, you make a mistake, this track will bite you, and I for one, love that about a racetrack.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, racing is all about perfection, and if you haven't got that, I think you should be punished. I mean, especially in real life, you've got the best racing drivers in the world, at least you should have. We don't quite have that, but yeah, sadly F1 is all about money nowadays, but we still have got some amazing drivers in real life, and we've got some amazing drivers here out on the grid today. And yeah, as we see Gavin flying through turns 7 and 8, and yeah, just we'll take a moment to remember what happened. I think today, exactly 6 years ago, obviously that tragic accident that happened to Jules Bianchi, and we race here in Japan once again on this yeah, very sad day. I mean, yeah, the most recent loss of an F1 driver we have got. It's great to see so much safety nowadays in F1 though, with all the incidents happening, and yeah, no drivers been seriously injured in the past couple of years, and yeah, we still can't forget about Jules Bianchi. So yeah, it's a very emotional track for real life drivers. I think a bit less for those drivers out on the grid here, as we're just racing on the game, but still I think some drivers might have that in their minds when they're going through that corner.
Yeah, he was an amazing talent, and he definitely won't be forgotten. And hopefully, the drivers tonight put on a great show for him. It's definitely something he would love to see, I'm sure. And we've already got some lap times coming in the early stages of qualifying, and Gelato already into the 125s, which is a fairly solid effort indeed.
Yeah, I think I was on board with Gavin. No, I don't think I was on board. I was on board with Gavin for the entire lap, basically. I was watching him, and in the first sector, he slightly made a mistake. Actually, went onto the grass on the inside. Nearly cut the corner on the inside. Definitely lost him some time there. So there's still some time to find for the Williams driver, who has shown some great pace so far this season. And yeah, I think he can definitely improve on that. And now we've got Nino coming around the final corner, where that stupid bump from last year's game, sorry for my language, but that was just stupid to have that, which was never there in real life at no point. But now it's finally gone, and we haven't got that bump on this game, luckily.
Yeah, it's still very much a challenge though, that corner. I saw a few incidents in F7 where drivers lost it on traction and went into the pit wall. So, although sometimes it's usually seen as just an acceleration zone, it's very easy to lose it under traction now. And I think as well there'll be a lot of eagerness for drivers to get on the throttle at the final corner, because turn one round here is probably your best overtaking spot. There aren't too many others. Obviously, just riding on board with Nino as he comes in for his outlap. Coming up to the corner, which was made famous by the Japanese driver Kamui Kobayashi. He used to put a few moves in at the hairpin, but I think it's a lot more difficult to do that on this game than it perhaps was in real life about 8 years ago.
Yeah, especially with those cars nowadays, the dirty air, especially in Sector 1, will really affect your lap times. And I'm on board with Matt right now. He's slightly track extended out of turn 2, but it seems like you can't do that on this game. It's a bit more forgiving than some other corners. Yeah, a bit odd. Slightly goes wide, but not too wide, so his lap time is not invalidated. But he clips the grass on the inside on the straight, actually. A bit odd to see. But the Haas driver currently still out on his lap. It still counts. And now flying into that last chicane. Do you reckon we could see maybe some risky moves as he invalidates as he cuts the inside corner?
I think 130R or 130R is definitely an opportunity. Obviously, maybe used to be a bit more of a challenging corner. Now it's just easy flat in these cars. But if you can get a run out the spoon curve, there's a very good opportunity down into 130R and potentially the chicane as well if you're still alongside a car. So that is the other opportunity for sure. The rest of the track, though, it's very difficult to follow, so you do have to be sort of creative if you are stuck behind another car, and the traction out of the last corner is going to be absolutely crucial to getting those moves done. And it makes qualifying very important as well, because if you put out position in qualifying, it can be quite difficult to make that up in the race. And we've seen in the past Ratica not really go out in qualifying, but the fact that he's doing so here today suggests he knows if he starts in the pack, it's going to be very difficult to make his way through.
Yeah, I mean, especially that entire first sector is, you've got a very high risk of crashing out or maybe at least damaging your front wing. And we saw that in real life a couple of years ago when Carlos Sainz spun out in the midfield in his last race for Toro Rosso, back in the day when it was actually still called Toro Rosso. And yeah, Gio was the first one to go out on track once again. He's currently on his outlap as he came out the pits. And yeah, I'm just wondering, like, if you're stuck behind another driver, do you reckon the undercut could be a worthy try, or do you think it could be a big risk as well due to the traffic, that it's not that easy to overtake like you've mentioned? And if you're stuck in traffic when you try and undercut, do you reckon it's more a bit of a risk rather than an opportunity?
I think an undercut's definitely a possibility. The traditional strategy around here tonight should either be soft to hard or soft to medium. So obviously if you do go for the undercut, you are pretty much putting yourself on the hard tyre realistically, unless there's a safety car that helps out with your tyre wear. But even so, I don't think there's that much of an offset here between the hards and the mediums, so that's definitely a feasible strategy. And if you are caught in traffic, just pitting a lap or two earlier than the cars in front could definitely prove to be an advantage. I think usually, if you do have to stay out an extra lap, you can lose about a second or two just on that one lap alone. So the undercut's definitely something to think about, and if you are stuck in traffic that you believe you're quicker then it's something definitely to think about and look at doing. But like I said, safety cars can make that go out the window almost, depending on the timing of them.
Oh, and we've got a huge crash out of Deckner's 1 and 2, out of Deckner 2 actually, as Gio made a mistake entering Deckner 1, went a bit wide, then put him off his line completely. In real life, that would have been a nasty shunt for him. And yeah, Nino makes a mistake as well, abandons his lap probably. And yeah, just went a bit wide, clipped the gravel, and then the grip was gone, went out wide in Deckner 2 as well. And then spun into the right-hand wall, and his car kind of flew into the air. And like I said, in real life, that would have been quite a big hit for him, but luckily we don't have a danger of actually injuring yourself on the F1 games. Otherwise, that could have been a bit, painful, but his quali is definitely over, so Gio is going to stick with his lap time now, and that's going to be very disappointing, especially after your first run. You don't want to throw your quali out of the window already. And Ratica is on his way to finish his second lap now. Our current championship leader, like you've mentioned, had a very poor weekend last time out. Didn't qualify for some reason. And Leon has retired. Leon has crashed through turn 7. And also he made a mistake, it seems like. So does Matt. Matt also crashed out. That's in the middle of the straight. Don't know what's going on right now. There's a McLaren involved as well, it seems like. That must be Larkin.
Oh, and
yeah,
Larkin's got a grid penalty for that as well. That's very unfortunate. 5-place grid drop for something that looks, well, pretty unavoidable from what I could see, and it's not like it's done Larkin any favours either.
That is taken. So Suzuka's taken its first victims already, as Gavin puts in the provisional pole time, just a couple of hundredths of a second in front of Gelato actually. But what can his teammate do? Ghosts, as he flies through Spoon, the famous corner where Sebastian Vettel tried the move on Max Verstappen, and we saw how difficult it is to overtake around here in 2018, where Vettel was basically a bit, I don't know how to say it, but he became a bit impatient and just tried a risky move that was just not there, made the mistake and spun round, dropped him to last eventually. He recovered quite nicely as Ghost invalidates on the last corner of the drive. That's a bit disappointing for him. But yeah, it just proves that Suzuka is such a tricky track to nail, and it's so nice and flowing, but if you're out of the rhythm, you can basically forget about your lap time already, because it's not going to be anything good. And we can see many drivers have already invalidated their next laps as well. So you talked about this, and it's proven to be right that Japan is so tricky, the walls are so close, and already 3 people have retired now.
It's catching out many drivers, and that's the thing about it. There's certain corners that if you start to go just even slightly off the track, it's almost like the gravel pulls you in, and there's very little you can do from that point. You're pretty much a passenger. Gelato, I'm wondering if he's about to go back onto pole. Yes, he is. He does a 25.8, so back on pole ahead of Gavin by a tenth of a second. Touching on Gio, of course, who was actually the first person to crash out of qualifying. That's a real shame for him. He's had a difficult season up to now, but he got that really confidence-boosting podium last week, and that's not the way he would have wanted to build on that. He's now going to be starting in at best 12th place, and that's going to be tough to salvage any meaningful result from there. But at least we saw from last week he's got the pace to do it.
And shows another driver that makes a big mistake through Degner 2. Such a tricky part as well. I mean, we've got Spoon, the double left-hander, which is pretty quick. And we've got turns 1 and 2, obviously, where the first corner is quick. A double right-hander, turns 1 and 2, then a double right-hander of Degner 1 and 2, and then obviously Spoon, the double left-hander. And it's just the nature of the track that the first corner is just quite quick, and then the second one is a lot slower, and you have to kind of slow the car down while you're still turning in. So it's not making it easy for those guys with no ABS, obviously, in this division. And yeah, it's claiming some victims already, and mistakes have been made.
It's what I think it's certainly from my perspective anyway, it's what I like to see though. You don't want tracks where there's just tons and tons of runoff area, and if you make a mistake, that's alright, you don't really lose anything from it. I think, we've got the best drivers in the world in F1, and we've got some great drivers here as well. If you mess up, I won't say you deserve to get punished, but it's kind of what should happen. You shouldn't just get a free pass when you make an error.
Absolutely agreed. And I mean, nowadays the modern racetracks have got loads of runoff because it's seen as the most safe way of preventing a crash. And Miko loses it through turn 7, through the Dunlop curve. Very tricky corner as well. Usually flat in these cars. But yeah, you can lose traction if you've got a very loose setup, or an aggressive setup, I should rather say. And yeah, it's easy to make a mistake around here. But yeah, I totally agree with you. But those runners are usually for safety measures. But still, it's a bit sad to see that drivers are not really punished for making a mistake all too much. But in real life, it does make sense, because it's just a lot safer. Obviously, gravel traps do create the danger of a driver flipping over, even though the car flipping over is not that dangerous as it most of the time looks. But still, you don't want a car to flip. So that's why we've got so much runoff. But then it's just great to see tracks that just don't have it, that just have grass, and you're really punished and you're losing time, and you can throw your lap out of the window already if you dip onto the grass on the outside or on the inside. And when you go off in Russia, all you have to worry about is just invalidating your lap time or getting a warning in the race. And here it's just, if you make a mistake, you might be out of the race.
That's it. And I think a counter argument, certainly for me anyway, is that, well, at least with gravel and grass, you're at least slowed down before you hit the wall. We've seen some pretty scary accidents at these so-called safer tracks recently because, if it's just runoff when you go off, you're not going to slow down, and therefore you're going to hit the wall a hell of a lot harder. And we've seen that a few times now. Sort of very scary crash in F2 during the Sochi weekend, which I almost feel like if it was grass and gravel there, that wouldn't have been so bad.
Yeah, and we all sadly still remember that incident that happened last year in Spa to Antoine Hubert, our most recent loss in the Formula Racing series, or the series that are racing around the F1 weekends on the same tracks. And obviously out of Rayon we don't have gravel or grass either, but I think it's a special corner, so you can't really compare that all too much. But it's getting quite overcast here, and drivers are already out on their laps. Most of them, at least, are. Gelato has decided to still stay in this garage. But might we see some rain towards the end of this quali session here?
Interesting to see. We've got Lewis, actually, who's on a much improved lap. Where's Lewis about to go? He goes up to third on a 26.1. So it's a good lap from him. All the top three at the moment are previous race winners. So one of us is looking to end that curse, if you like. Kev will not be doing a lap time in qualifying. He's retired from the session. And it's now down to the final laps of the session. Miku is obviously second in the championship. He's yet to win a race, and well, that's just incredibly bizarre what I've just seen there. Nino went straight on at a corner and's gone into the wall, and crashed his car out of session. So that's his session done in quite spectacular fashion. But it's now up to the final laps and see if anyone can take pole away from Gelato.
Yeah, Gelato would be a first-time winner in F5 this season as well. He hasn't won a race yet. I think it's his first occasion in F5, if I remember correctly. I can't remember seeing him at any point before in this race, but let's see what Rataka can do.
He won at Zandvoort.
All right. I was not there in Zandvoort.
Yeah,
so,
I'll let you off.
As Rataka goes third, so he won't take pole position. He's pretty close to it though, and yeah, Gelato needs to speed up a little bit, but he's just exiting the final corner to start his final lap, so he's right at the death of timing here with 10 seconds to go. He crosses the line for his final run, and there's some cars sitting in turns 1 and 2. Hopefully they won't block him, but let's see what Gavin does as he comes around the final 2 corners, but he has invalidated as yellow flags were shown all around. I only just saw that now. So Gavin won't be the man to take pole. Who can take pole away from Gelato right now? Could it be Jay Ghost, who comes around the final corner now? And he loses the rear end. That's a massive time loss. He's 3/10 off, and he only slightly improves. And I think that could have at least put him up to 4th if he wouldn't have made that mistake. Schultz is out of contention for pole. Let's see what Cortez does, as Cortez hopefully is not being blocked. He's not on a lap. Miku has invalidated, so it's going to be Gelato on pole.
Great effort there from Gelato. He's invalidated his lap as well, so he won't be improving on his pole lap, but he doesn't need to. He's got it in the bag. And I have to say, if Jay Ghost hadn't have had that traction issue coming out the final chicane, he could have taken it. He was convincingly up on his previous time. The fact he still improved despite that shows what a good lap he was on, and maybe that was pole position just slipping away there out of that final chicane for him.
Yeah, but seeing so many people making mistakes and invalidating their lap times just shows how much these guys have to push their limits, have to push their cars to get a good lap time and to beat those guys around them. And that's great to see. Gelato slightly improved, but obviously he had his lap time invalidated, and Cortez is just going to be loads off. He's just going to be 9th in the end, and now Miko's just sitting in the garage, not retired yet. But yeah, there you have your grid. It's going to be Gelato on pole, who has the best chances of taking his 2nd win of the season then, as I wasn't there in Zandvoort, but good that you've mentioned it. And yeah, maybe he can break that streak of different winners. We didn't have a two-time winner so far this season, but we might see one here, as Gavin is a close second, not even a tenth behind, and Rattica 1,000 behind Gavin. That's the slightest mistake he made in that lap to put him just one more position behind. And then we've got Lewis in fourth. Then we've got Ghosts in P5 with his big mistake out of the last corner. Then Schultz is going to take sixth on the grid. Houseman is going to start from seventh. Then we've got Nino in eighth. Cortez in ninth. McPaper is going to start 10th. Leon Bentley. So Leon is going to take the first position, who is able to get a free tyre choice. Then we've got Miko in 12th. Gio in 13th. Nark in 14th. Matt in 15th. And then last but not least, we've got Kev. So in the end, it's Gelato taking pole, but not many drivers were able to set their final lap time. So do you reckon there could be still some drivers who've got a lot of potential now in terms of pace? Or do you reckon that Gelato would have taken it anyway if everyone would have put their final lap in?
I'm not sure anybody realistically got a perfect lap in there. It seemed like all drivers were struggling somewhat, and when some drivers were finding pace, they'd then invalidate or go off somewhere. So I think there's a few drivers. I think Matt, who didn't do a lap time, I think he's very much out of position. I think Miku, I'd expect him to be a little bit higher up. As we mentioned, Jay Ghost was on a better lap as well, and he didn't get it together. So it's going to be interesting to see. Gelato did a great job in qualifying, but it's going to be intriguing to find out who's got the edge in the race. And I think, as we've seen so many mistakes in qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised if we see quite a few offs in the race as well, because some drivers clearly not quite getting to grips with Suzuka just yet.
And yeah, you're absolutely right, but hopefully that will go down in the race a little bit. We've got the predicted pit stop strategy. One stop from soft to hard is probably the way to go, or soft to medium. The game usually doesn't reckon you can take the tyres all too long. But if we look at the tyre choices of the guys outside the top 10, we've only got medium runners except from Matt, who's going to start on the hards. Anyone else is trusting the medium soft strategy, it seems like, and obviously we've got the risk of a safety car here as well, with so many mistakes being made already. And I've just seen the greatest excuse of all time for not racing on Twitter. I'm not allowed to say on stream what he actually said, but yeah, I think PSGL has seen some very interesting excuses for not racing. If this wouldn't be on stream, I could say it, but I think I shouldn't really be quoting his excuse as it is, because I don't think that would be yeah, too viewer friendly, and we want to keep it nice. We don't want to see any bad words on stream, so let's just focus on this race. And you can go on Twitter and probably find it if you're interested in that. Many league races have retweeted or liked or commented on that one. And yeah, a quick shout out then to Lenny, who actually posted it. So if you're interested in seeing the best excuse ever, just check out Lenny on Twitter, Spag and Chips. So yeah, just check him out. I bet you're gonna love that as well, Jake. I think you've not seen such an excuse in your career yet.
I will have to give that a read after the race. Just a quick mention from the chat. Scholes, I believe that is, has asked him to watch his start again. Obviously, we saw him make an incredible start at Vietnam, gaining something like 7 places off the grid from 9th up to 2nd. I wouldn't say he'd be able to do something similar here, because it's a little bit more difficult for his first few corners, but he's starting 6th, and we'll see what he can do from the start. Ferhan obviously isn't here, and I was actually going to mention the fact that Red Bull, the runaway constructors leaders, have only scored 6 points in the last 2 races, so pressure is on Rattica after his first DNF to try and get both himself and his team back on track tonight.
Hopefully we'll see a very good race, but I'm pretty sure those guys will deliver once again as we are preparing for lights out then here in Japan. That's an awful camera angle I've got, but I'm looking to get a good one now. Hopefully I'm going to get one anytime soon. And now I have one as the lights are coming on, as we are up to 5 red lights. And we are off here in Suzuka. It seems to be a good start, a solid start from Gelato and P1. It seems like Rataka has had a great start as he pulling alongside Gavin already, and he's taken second place already, swooping around the outside into turn 1. Great move by him. Schultz has already moved up a place. Good start from him once again, and maybe he can even challenge Lewis up front as well. Lewis is known for slightly bottling it, not even on the first lap maybe, but now he goes for the move in the S section. That's very tricky now. Turn 7, the outside line is not the best one you can take there, but now he's got the inside line, the outside for Deckner's 1 and 2 as well though, but now he's on the outside for Deckner 1 and he can't make the move stick. It seems like they've kept it clean at the front, and we've got the safety car because in the back they didn't, and Larkin is our first retirement of the day.
A real shame for Larkin. He was so dominant in F7 at the start of that season, made the decision to move to F5, and so far it hasn't really gone his way. The safety car early on does provide, I think certainly for those on soft tyres, it provides them a good breather in a way. Potentially means they can run a bit longer into the race and then go for mediums rather than hards. So I don't think I'll be too disappointed about that. We saw Scholes once again being super aggressive on the first lap trying to gain positions, but as I sort of predicted, it's not quite as easy to do that here as it was at Vietnam. So although he was very good off the start, he's only actually got one place to show from it. But an important switch as well, further up, Rataka is up to second past Gavin, and of course those two are two of the main contenders for the title, so that's an important move for the Red Bull driver early on.
Yeah, Rataka has had a great launch off the line and then swooped around the outside of the Williams driver into turn 1. Great move by him. Basically already had the move done before turn 1. Smart decision from Gavin to back out as Hausman has to go into the pits, probably change his front wing now, and he's going to drop down massively. Or does he change his front wing? No, he does not. So he's going to fit the hard tyre and go for an alternate strategy without even having front wing damage. Then we've got Gio in the pits as well. He hasn't got front wing damage either. He fits the hard compound as well. So two drivers going for a very odd strategy. Do they maybe plan on getting till the end on those tyres? That would be a big gamble to try and get those tyres to work until the end of this race. It's a long way, but of course the safety car can help them. And also the safety car really helps the medium runners because it's taken the advantage of the soft runners away quite a lot. The pace advantage they should have on their first stint is now not that big anymore as the safety car slows everyone down.
A big surprise to me actually is that Gio hasn't got damage, because it looks like it was him and Larkin that may have come together in the opening lap. They certainly both lost time before Larkin obviously retired. So a little bit surprised Gio hasn't got damage. He's gone on to the hard tyres. I personally don't think that's a good call. Certainly not for Hausman. I don't think it's wise to go onto the hards just yet. The fact that he's the only one that does it suggests it's kind of a common opinion in the paddock as well. I just think it's too early. I think it's better to stay on the tyre you're on and stick to the same sort of strategy, but just obviously lengthening the short stint a little bit. I think it's going to be tough for Hausman from here on in. He's going to have to try and get as hard to temperature, and he's got everyone in front of him, so I don't see how that's going to work out for him at this stage, but maybe he proves me wrong.
Maybe, and maybe he's gambling on a late safety car as well, which is not that unlikely after a safety car on lap 1 already, and so many mistakes being made in qualifying. And Jake, if you want, I send you the excuse on Twitter, by the way, if you want to see it. As we've got a bit of time now doing the safety car phases, we're only just starting lap 3. The safety car's definitely going to be out for another lap, and there's not that much to talk about during the first safety car phase, sadly, most of the time. And yeah, that's always a weird situation for a commentator when you've got such an early safety car, because not that many things have happened at the early stages of this race, and usually you use the qualifying to talk about different things and championship standings. And yeah, so if you want, you are free to check out the excuse. It made me laugh, not gonna lie. I really enjoyed that excuse.
I just had a look at it. Yeah, that's certainly not what I've heard before. Certainly not to that great detail anyway. In terms of a championship, quickly, obviously we've got Rataka in the lead. We've got Miko in second, despite the fact he's not one of the 8 race winners we mentioned. But he has got the most podiums of everybody. He's got 4 podiums to his name. So if he can just iron out the bad races he has,
I think Lewis has spun.
Lewis has spun under the safety car. That's completely bizarre.
Lewis. I To be honest, I'm not surprised that it's Lewis. Out of every driver, if you would have asked me before the start of this race who could spin under the safety car, I would have told you it's going to be Lewis if it has to be someone. Because Lewis is just someone who regularly bottles in the most bizarre ways, and he's proven that once again, dropping down to last on the grid right now, and yeah, on the soft tyre as well. So yeah, his race is going to be quite difficult to save from here on in. But Sebastian Vettel did it quite well in 2018. Charles Leclerc managed to do it quite well in 2019 as well. Maybe he's going to be the one to do it in 2020 then, as we don't have a race in real life here. But I'm expecting the safety car to come in this lap as it crosses the last sector line. And yes, it is in this lap. This game is very predictable. And from now on, it's going to be Gelato controlling the pace of the field, of the entire field. All the 15 cars that are remaining from that first lap incident are now bunched up, warming up the tyres, preparing for the restart of this race. And then we are under green flag racing, hopefully for an entire lap for the first time. And it's now go once again. We are green as soon as Gelato crosses the line. You're not allowed to overtake before the safety car line. Gelato has made a good restart. Gavin has not, it seems like. Schultz is not only good at standing start, it seems like he's really good at restarts after a safety car phase as well. He's really close to the back of Gavin. Could not set up a move just yet though. Nino's really close to Ghost as well, who's lost quite a lot of time. In the background we've got Gio making moves, and he's already moved up a position. He's gone past Hausmann now after he was behind him as he started way down the grid after his crash in quali. But Schultz is someone we should really look out for in this race, I reckon.
Yeah, he certainly has. He certainly has got his energy up for those standing starts and even rolling starts. He's absolutely on the ball straight away and looking to make up ground. And he's right behind Gavin. He didn't manage to get the move sticking to turn one, but following on from his best result last week, he's looking high on confidence right now.
Yeah, he is really high on confidence, and look at the way he's closing up on Gavin in basically every single corner. As he now makes a mistake, goes slightly wide, that's surely a warning for him, and now he's under pressure from Ghost. That just proves how unforgiving this racetrack is. Just one simple mistake, he slightly went off the racing line and has just lost loads of times. And now the other Williams, who is behind him in that Williams sandwich, is really setting up a move right now into the final chicane. He goes down the inside, and he's got the move done already, and I think Nino slightly outbraked himself. Nearly went into the back of the Ferrari, but he managed to avoid him just in time, and that was really lucky for not only Nino but also Schultz, and that just proves how unforgiving this racetrack is. And now Nino comes at him as well. Round the outside he goes into turn one. Can he make the move stick? What a great camera angle. They slightly touch, they slightly make contact, they're still side by side, and that's great racing, and Nino's got the move done. Great work from him, swooping around the outside through turns 1 and 2, and that is fantastic stuff from the Racing Point. And Schultz drops 2 positions within half a lap.
Yeah, Schultz very eager off the start, but ultimately a little bit too eager as it turned
out.
Oh,
and he's made a mistake once again.
Oh dear, just falling through the field at the moment. I have to say that Nino overtake was absolutely sensational around the outside, and fair play to Schultz as well for giving him the room in which to pull it off. But unfortunately for Schultz, he had that great restart, but it's all kind of unravelling at the moment, and he just needs to regroup here, maybe calm down slightly, because he looks like he's eager to impress, but perhaps a little bit too eager at the same time.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that the flow and the rhythm around this track is so important, and if you just make one mistake, your flow's completely gone, and it takes maybe a lap or two to get back into that rhythm, to get back into that flow, to get back up to pace. And Schultz is trying to get that pace back up once again after his mistake. He was completely out of the flow, and on this game it's so easy to lose not only one but many positions. And there goes McPaper maybe now round the outside into the final chicane. He backs out though. Schultz slightly outbrakes himself, locks up the inside tyre, but has not lost the position just now. And McPaper's really close to him, but not close enough to make a move, I reckon. But easy though, he might still be. He tries for the outside line, maybe once again a move around the outside of Schultz. No, he does not make it stick. Schultz defends really well into turns 1 and 2, and this time he keeps the spot.
Important for Schultz. He had to stop that sort of downward trend of going for the field. And
Kev is off.
Kev is off for track. He's got damage. Oh, and that's a disaster for him. And that's pulling him right to the back, and he will have to come in for a pit stop. And It's going to be a real struggle from there. He's going to have to rely on safety cars, I reckon, to get his race back on track. And he's back in the gravel trap again, so I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. But it's not the quickest way back to the pits, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle for him to save that race from now on. And yeah, we see many mistakes have not only been made in quali, but also now in the race.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. So we've currently got Ghost behind his teammate Gavin. Of course, Gavin is very much in the fight for the title. Ghost, I would say, probably isn't. What do you think Ghost's approach will be here?
I'm not sure. I mean, teammates, that's always a risky situation. Obviously, the unwritten rule number one of motorsport is don't collide with your teammate. And those guys have got quite a good relationship, I think. I think I remember that correctly. And now he probably will try to pass his teammate in some way, but he won't be as aggressive as he might be on other drivers. So yeah, maybe they play together, they work together, as Gavin is losing a bit of time to Ratikas, as Ratikas coming closer and closer to Gelato, obviously through that DRS he's getting. But yeah, it's just maybe a bit of teamwork coming into play now. If Gavin decides, all right, mate, I'll let you go through, I'll let you have a try, and maybe they'll do something like real life F1 teams do. You know, let the first driver or the driver ahead get a shot at it, try to pass the driver in front, and if he can't do it, let the car behind go through with better tyres then, as he is able to save the tyres. Just stay behind a little bit, save your ERS, save your tyres, and then go for it when your teammate lets you have a shot.
There's definitely a few different options for them going forwards. Scholes and Lewis have made pit stops, just for tyres, no damage for either of them. Scholes has gone for the hards, which is completely understandable. Lewis, though, is expecting potentially 21 laps out of those mediums if there's not a safety car. So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops for him. In fact, Ghost is going down the inside of Gavin through 130R, and Gavin doesn't really defend that, so maybe that's the call Williams have given. Let's give Ghost a try, see if he can get involved in the lead battle a little bit more. Maybe that's what's happened.
Yeah, it really looked like some team orders there, and Kev is once again having a horrendous weekend here in Japan after his horrible weekend all throughout in Vietnam, and now he's back in the gravel once again. So yeah, fair play to him last week, though he kept fighting till the end. Sadly didn't come out with any points in the end, but still I rate that he didn't retire, he just kept on working, and hopefully he's not blocking any drivers so far, as he's really struggling to keep the car on track, it looks like. And yeah, Kev just needs to maybe get back into the rhythm, and yeah, now it's Ghost's chance to maybe try and have a look at Ratica, who's lost the DRS window to Gelato. So Gelato has got a comfortable lead with 1.4 seconds. He's got the car behind out of the DRS window and seems to have really good pace, so he could be our first two-time winner this season. But it's still a long way. It's only lap 8 on this race, and we've still got 20 laps to go and 19 when we cross the line, as Ghost slightly touches the inside curb out of Spoon, and yeah, nearly spins the car round. And it's so easy to do that when you just hit the curb, or just that tiny little bit too much. And also I want to mention Nino. Look at Nino, he's really close to Gavin, and Nino's someone you should never count out. I mean, last week, out of nowhere basically, put in the pole time, put his car on the front row of the grid in his prime position, and yeah, basically dominated the race last week. And today he's shown some great pace once again, so maybe another podium is up for him.
Yeah, he's just quietly gone about his business, and he's now right on the back of his pack. McPeeper makes his pit stop. I actually think that might have been a call from Renault, because he had Miku right behind him, who of course started on mediums, and obviously he doesn't really want to interfere too much with Miku's race. So he's made that early stop onto hard tyres, and he'll be looking to get to the end, and that allows Miku now to try and get past Leon. Those are the two highest running medium tyre runners, who of course started on them anyway. So Leon and Miku having pretty solid races at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how their strategy unfolds later on.
I mean, it could be a big chance for them with the opposite strategy, and maybe if a safety car comes out of nowhere and puts them in a prime position, they could be up for the race win as well. But we'll have to wait and see for that. Leon, obviously, you've mentioned it in quali, he's been moved up from F7. I think it was F7, was it?
It was, yep.
Yeah, and he's shown some great pace today, and maybe today is the day where he scores a very, very good result for not only himself but also the AlphaTauri team. And yeah, right now Nino and Ghosts are looking to be the two favorites to actually make a move.
Oh,
and they
Ghosts.
maybe Ghosts down the inside into the chicane. That's a very opportunistic move, but he makes it stick. Great work from him, and the Williams drivers up to second now and has passed the championship leader as he dives into the pit lane. Ghosts stays out, so does Gavin. Nino, Ratica and Gelato all decide to go for the undercut, and now that could be a chance for both the undercut drivers and the Williams drivers who are trying the overcut. And yeah, that was a great move, and it kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't think he would actually go for that.
No, absolutely not. It's not really an opportunity usually, but he got a great run and he made the move stick, and obviously then Gelato, Ratica, Nino and Cortez all decided to stop. Now what's going to be interesting here is both Williams cars have stayed out. Now who's going to get the preference on pitting first? Because obviously Ghost is ahead at the moment, but you'd argue for the championship's sake it's worth letting Gavin stop first.
Yeah, and also Ghost has let Gavin through without fighting, more or less. And also interesting, and worth to mention, Cortez and Nino, both who have pitted on the same lap as Gelato and Ratica. The Mercedes and the Racing Point both are on the mediums, while Ratica and Gelato have gone for the safer option and gone onto the hards. And I believe that Ghosts and Gavin are trying to stretch their first stint a little bit more to go on the mediums and not have any problems towards the end of this race. So Nino might be someone to look out for towards the end of this race, as his tyres are probably going to go down massively. And we heard in the interviews last week in Vietnam that Nino was struggling towards the end with tyre wear, as now Ghost, as we thought, is getting the first pit choice. So he's the first Williams car to pit, and let's see where he comes out in comparison to
we've got
the other
Miku
guys.
and Leon battling down the pit straight going into turn 1, and Miku gets a move done before turn 1. So Leon trying to fight back, but not really got any option there on the exit of turn 2. And Miku now to what is provisionally second, but he's now the highest running.
Oh, and look at that gap. That gap has come down massively. Look at that. Gelato only just ahead of Ghosts, and Ghosts has managed to not only stay in front of Ratica after already setting up the move and making the move on the final lap before Ratica pitted, but also has managed to close down that gap to Gelato as he was on hards. Ghost was still on his softs, and it seems like his softs had still some good pace in it, and now he's got a really good shot at winning this race on his mediums. If they can last till the end of this race, he should be quicker for now.
And what's going to be very interesting to see is how Gavin fits into this. All these top 4 are kind of together on track now. Nino will be looking to try and make progress, really. For his strategy to work, he really needs to clear Ratica as quickly as possible, but the problem he's going to have there, of course, is that they're effectively in a DRS train, so Ratica will have DRS himself, so perhaps Nino will need to find a bit of an orthodox overtaking spot, but that's worked out beautifully for Ghost. Did the extra lap on softs, and he's still right where he was before, so I don't think that could have worked out any better for him, really.
No, that was a great choice to stay out one more lap than all the other guys. Let's see where Gavin comes out, if he actually capitalized on that as well. And look at Nino, he's so close to Ratica on his mediums. His mediums are just so much quicker, it seems like. And up front there's Gavin so close to Gelato actually as well. And yeah, Gavin is going to come out behind all of them as well. He's going to drop behind Nino even, and that has not worked out anywhere near as good as for his teammate. That one extra lap cost him massive amounts of time.
Yeah, the tyre's probably starting to give up there on the Williams there on that final lap, and it has cost him track position. Of course, he will have the fresher and better tyres over those in front of him, so we'll see if he can put those to good use. What Gelato needs to do now is he needs to get past, or needs to hold off Ghost, should I say. Ghost needs to get past Gelato. I keep seeing a yellow flag, but I'm pretty convinced it's Kev every time. Yeah, this is going to be an important battle now, and Ratica plays a big part in this as well, and he's actually coming under significant pressure from Nino, who's right behind him out of a hairpin, and he could try and move into a spoon curve. Not a usual overtaking spot, but clearly Ratica got a poor exit out of the hairpin, and Nino's now found himself past Ratica, and Like I said, he needed to find an orthodox overtaking spot, but he hasn't had the best exit himself out of Spoon Curve. And now they're both going to go side by side up to 130R. Gavin very much in close proximity as well, but Nino has got that little bit extra straight line speed, and now Ratika's under more pressure now from Gavin around the outside of a final chicane. Is he going to be able to hold him off?
And also Ghosts has made the move on Gelato. I'm sorry that we've missed that, but there are so many battles going on right now, and there has been a change of the effective lead on lap 12 on this race, and it's Ghosts taking the effective lead from Gelato. Nino, great stuff from him, as you've mentioned. I saw that move actually, as you've mentioned it, and then I stayed on board with him as Nino is struggling with his grip at the moment out of the corners. It seems like traction is not a thing where he's too confident at the moment, as he's had a poor exit out of Spoon as well. And then I think Ratika backed out, and then yeah, he backed out a bit too much, he backed off a bit too much, lifted, and yeah, then Gavin just saw the opportunity and went for it and got the move done. So Ratika has lost out massively in this fight now.
He really has, and it's worked out quite well for both Williams cars there in the space of half a lap. Ghost's trick now will be to try and clear the DRS range of Gelato behind him and just start to close in obviously on those ahead of him who've yet to pit. So it's going to be interesting to see what Nino can do now. Like you said, he pitted relatively early for those medium tyres, and it's important the progress he makes now, because towards the end of a race he may well be a sitting duck.
Yeah, he is, and just remember, I'm very sure that Gio is not going to be able to make those hards work till the end of this race. But if he's a god at tyre saving, maybe, just maybe, he can actually get those tyres till the end, and he might be in the effective lead. But I really doubt that, as Ghost sets the fastest lap of this race, underlines his pace so far on this medium stint now. And yeah, Gavin also, like you've mentioned, he's the one that made the latest pit stop. Nino has got 2 lap older tyres than Gavin behind him, so that might be a factor towards the end. And Kev has just retired. I think he crashed out of the last corner. Is that going to be a safety car? It's going to be a virtual one.
Yeah, it doesn't really do much for the race. In fact, the area of a track where most cars are at is nowhere near the pit lane, so no one's going to fancy chance their arm with a cheeky pit stop. So it's pretty much just status quo at this point. I think actually, if there's anyone a virtual safety car helps, it's potentially those like Miku and Leon who've still yet to stop, because you'd imagine at this point they are losing time to those behind them. So by having this virtual safety car period, it helps them minimise that time loss, so to speak. So I think Miku and Leon will not mind this one bit.
No, I mean, they're still out on their first set of tyres, as nearly everyone else is pitted. And also Matt, interesting to mention that he's on the hards. So yeah, I think medium soft is going to be the strap to go, or soft medium in this race. It seems to be working out quite well so far. And look at Nino's restart. Nino's had a great restart, and he's closed up to Gelato massively. He's only 3/10 behind, and might be able to actually set up a move now on the main straight to take eventual or effective P2. And Nino's shown some great pace so far, and he's not willing to stop right now, it looks like, and maybe he could be the one challenging for the race win as well, as Ghost is keeping Gelato in his DRS window for now. So that's going to make Nino very, very furious, and it's making his life a lot more difficult to get past the AlphaTauri, even though he's got the better tyre.
There's another important move that's just happened further down the field as well. Ratika has lost yet another position to Cortez. He was really sluggish on the restart, and he's been caught out there, and the Mercedes has got past him. And I have to say, this hard tyre phase has been an absolute disaster for Ratika. He just doesn't look like he's got any pace.
Ratika really struggling after his poor weekend last time in Vietnam. Doesn't seem to be a lot better for him, but at least he's about to score some points if it just stays where he is. But it seems like he's already losing time once again to Cortez, as Cortez is on the mediums, remember. And yeah, it's very interesting right now, the entire situation. We've got a 4-car train for the lead, basically, with Ghost, Gelato, Nino, and Gavin, and everyone's in the DRS zone, or in the DRS window of the car in front. And might that be a tactic of Ghost to keep Gelato in the DRS window behind him, to make life for Nino more difficult, as he's on the same tyre as him?
we've got a potential battle here for what is currently the race lead anyway, as Leon is looking to go back past Miku into turn 1, and he does so. So I thought when Miku passed Leon, he might be able to stretch his legs a little bit, but Leon stuck with him and got the place back, and I have to say, Leon's pace against Miku has been very, very impressive, and it'll be interesting to see what these guys can do when they go onto the soft tyre, because he could be ones to look out for, especially Leon, who I have to say is having possibly his most impressive race in F5 so far.
But we have to remember that the pit window is quite long. The amount of time you lose in the pit lane in comparison to the others is around 21 seconds, I think. But yeah, they be on the soft compound. I gotta say, this race has gone by quickly so far because we've had so much action, and it's great to see. It's a lot of fun watching these guys today, and they're putting up a great show so far. And currently we still basically got a 4-car train, a 4-car battle for the net race lead, and Nino is not going to enjoy that one because his tyres are the oldest one out of everyone, as Ghosts crucially picks up a 3-second time penalty. And could that be the moment when Ghosts starts to pick up his pace a bit more to break out of that DRS window from the car behind and try and build that gap up to 3 seconds as soon as he can?
Well, we're getting to a very important stage in the race as well for these four, because they're coming up now to those hard tyre runners, who I don't imagine we'll see in the pits for at least a couple more laps, potentially. So that's really going to be interesting now, see how quickly they can work their way through this pack. And I have to say, Gelato, I thought he would, a bit like Ratica, would start to fall after he lost that place to Ghost, but Gelato's pace on the hard tyres is actually very, very competitive, and he's sticking with Ghost. Ghost cannot shake him off, and that's putting the AlphaTauri in a really strong position in the last stages of this race.
Definitely, and that could still be a win up for grabs here, 100%. I'm not entirely sure where Ghost has won so far this season. I think he has not won yet. No, he has not. He is one of the few guys that are always up there who's not won a race so far, so he could become the 9th different winner in 9 races and keep the streak going. And right now he's in the net lead, but remember, he's got that 3-second time penalty, but he's willing to do everything in his power, everything that he can do to win this race in the end, to be on the top step and take the spot as the 9th different winner this season. And that will be just incredible. I mean, he's at 1 podium only this season, which is shocking to see considering how quick he usually is. As Leon pits.
Yeah, Leon pits. He'll be going on to soft tyres now, I'd imagine. One driver who I think is really going to struggle towards the end of this race is Lewis, because he's now been on his mediums for 9 laps, more than anybody else. And I can't see how he's going to keep those going all the way to the end from here. So if Lewis doesn't get a safety car period, he's looking at either clinging onto his tyres for dear life or having to make another stop, and that would effectively ruin his race.
Lewis, after his spin under the safety car, gotta say that is quite embarrassing. And I remember Valtteri Bottas actually doing that in real life, which is a bit more embarrassing if you're an actual real life F1 driver. But now we are coming up to that traffic that you were talking about a couple of laps ago, and let's see if Ghost can actually clear Matt this lap already. He's really close to him. Before that happens, he tries to move down the inside. He tries to do a Kamui Kobayashi, and he nearly spins out of the hairpin, and there goes Gelato back into the effective lead.
He knew just how crucial it was to get through, but he made a mess of it on traction, and unfortunately for him, that's now put him at the prey of Nino as well. So in Ghost's eagerness to get through that traffic as quickly as possible, obviously not technically traffic, but obviously on very different strategies, and it's really cost Ghost, and he's now potentially under threat from Nino here, coming up to 130R, but Nino just slots in behind for now. Ghost is using his ERS overtake button,
and he's going back down the inside into the chicane. He wants to take that spot back. Now it's got the outside line, but now the inside line for the last corner once again. They've given each other the room so far. Will they do the same on this straight? He gets squeezed towards the inside wall. So much going on right now, but Ghost seems to not have the upper hand now. He's got the inside line for turns 1 and 2 though. He's given the space by Gelato as Gelato goes wide, and there goes maybe Nino down the inside now as well, as they make contact, but Nino can't capitalize on that, and Ghost take takes back that P1 effectively, and that was so crucial. That was a great move.
Yeah, massively important. He knew he had to get that place back, and he did so. But the amount of time these two are losing behind these cars now and battling with each other is really costing them, and it's going to potentially give hope to the likes of Leon and, well, not Miku, because for some bizarre reason he's gone on to intermediates.
Oh no.
So I don't know what's happened there. That's definitely not in his script. So I think we can count Miku out the equation, but Leon's potentially the cork in the bottle here. If these lot keep battling amongst themselves, they could potentially find themselves under threat later on from some cars behind them, and this, of course, may allow Ratika to close back up as well.
Ratika is only 3 seconds behind, and he can definitely go to the end as well. But look at Nino, he's really close to the rear of Gelato now. He's using his overtake quite a bit on this straight. And let's see what Ghosts can do now into the chicane once again. Maybe this time the move on Matt actually works. Matt does not really fight it, and Ghosts is past the Haas driver, who's on a completely different strategy, is yet to make a pit stop, his one and only pit stop. He's defending the inside line surprisingly, but Gelato is having none of it and is trying to go around the outside. Same thing for Nino, and every one of these guys have made the mistake. So does Gavin actually, and Matt, I think he didn't really want to fight that all too much.
You made the call early on about Gio and potentially Hausman in the same boat as well. Obviously they pitted early on under the first safety car, and you suggested it may go to the end. Now I think that's a distinct possibility now, because I don't see why they would have stayed out to this extent to go on to soft tyres. Like, I mean, Matt, I'm actually a little bit surprised he hasn't pitted it yet either, because of course he does have to stop. But I would imagine that Gio and Hausman would have stopped by now if they were going to stop again. So perhaps Gio is taking your advice, so to speak, and staying out till the end and seeing what happens, because he's not in a bad position right now.
He's got nothing to lose at the moment, so why not take a gamble and try and stay out? And it's not looking all too bad for him. I don't know what it looks like in terms of time penalties. I don't even want to look at it. But Ghost currently still in the effective lead. But maybe now we have to rephrase that after what you just said. I do think that they are trying to go to the end here. They could prove me wrong if they pit on this lap now. But Ghost is just that little bit too far away to make a move into the hairpin on the Red Bull ahead of him. Hausman stays out, and so does Gio. So yeah, both are committing to the one stop after pitting on lap 1 onto hards. And there goes Ghosts then down the inside into turn 1. And yes, he's got the move done before the corner even started. And crucially, Gelato has not been able to use that as well, and has not been able to get past Hausman. So he could be held up massively now by the Red Bull driver on such old tyres, 18 lap old hards. That is on the Red Bull's right, on that Red Bull car right in front of him. So he might lose a lot of time, and that could really, really help Ghost right now, because it could bring 2 cars in between him and his probably closest rival and biggest challenger for this race win.
Well, what's significant to me, it's not the fact that, as well, because Gio is losing a lot of time already to go, so he's right up behind him. Gio's effectively as well losing time to Hausman, so I wonder if Gio's been slightly harder on his tyres and he's starting to pay the price for it, because he right now, it just doesn't look like he has any pace anywhere. And not only is he going to potentially get passed by all these drivers who are of course on a traditional strategy, I think he could potentially get passed by Hausman as well, the way it's going.
Yeah, Hausman is not losing all too much time to Ghosts right now, which is very impressive. But Ghost has broken out of that 1 second window to Gelato crucially, and is now probably going to get past Gio. So yeah, that could be a big factor, as Nino picks up a 3 second time penalty as well. So I have no idea how the situation looks like for the others, as Ghosts now takes the lead of the race on lap 22 here, and Gelato once again has not been able to get past that Red Bull, and that could be crucial for his race.
This is going to be a critical lap now. He's got to stay behind these two all the way around this opening sector at the lap at least, and this is Ghost's time now. He has to absolutely nail it from here. We know he's got a penalty, so if he can absolutely nail it from here and build up a gap, this win could still be his for the taking. This is really costing Gelato. He needs to get past these as quickly as possible.
And also Nino's stuck behind, and so is Gavin. Both are still within that window of 1 second, and Lewis and someone else has just gotten a penalty, and I think Gelato slightly hit the rear end of Houseman there. I don't know if he should actually take that spot now after he hit him through the hairpin, but maybe he's still trying to get that spot. No, he's not. And look at that, Ghost has already got the gap to Gio up to 1.2 seconds and has broken out of that 1 second window. And Houseman has obviously got the DRS now, and Nino could challenge Gelato, as well as Gelato could challenge Houseman now. This is so close, this is so crucial. And Nino, look at Nino, he's going for it around the outside. He tries to go through the chicane. He's got the outside line, he's got the inside line for the left-hander, and he gets the move done and gets up to P4 in this race. And Gelato might be getting under pressure from Gavin as well. And yes, Gavin is trying to go for the move on the inside into turn 1 then. They're still side by side, and there goes Gavin down the inside, and that was crucial. Gelato's race is falling away from him right now, and it seems like it was his win for the taking on that first stint, but now it's all falling apart for him.
And Houseman's overtaken Gio as well. As I suspected, he's much more comfortable at this stage on those old hard tyres. But that's massive for Gelato. He just couldn't make any progress, and ultimately he's lost out hugely. But if you look right now, the top 10 are separated by just 7.5 seconds. So I know we're not going to look at them, but penalties are going to massively shake the way this result goes, because Leon down in 10th is only 7 seconds off a lead, and if anything, he's closing in on that lead.
This is so incredibly exciting, and I have no idea what's about to happen when we cross the line. And Ghost is just doing everything he can do to build up that gap to 3 seconds to those guys behind. He needs that. Gelato crucially picks up a penalty as well. So right now it seems like Ghost doesn't even need that 3 second gap to Gelato. He doesn't need that gap to Nino. I'm not sure what about Gavin though. I'm not sure what about Houseman, and I'm not sure about Gio either. We're not going to look at them as you said, but currently the gap between P1 and P2 is 1.3 seconds. Gio picks up a penalty, so Ghost doesn't need that gap to him. He might need that gap to Houseman and Gavin though, and those are 1.5 and 2.8 seconds behind, and that lead could be getting bigger as Gio's trying to get back past and back into P2. Please don't make contact, lads. That was oh so close to contact, but great stuff from those guys. They managed to avoid the contact, and still both are in P2 and P3, and that's costing Nino, that's costing Gavin, that's costing Gelato, everyone who's sitting behind those two guys on such old hards. I don't know how old they are now. It seems like they are 21 laps old, and that is a lot of laps on those tyres, and that's going to be a lot of wear on those tyres as well. And oh, look at that, wide. And he's spun round, and he's been hit.
No. Is it Ratica, is it?
Yes, it is the championship leader who's collided with a car that should have been ghosted, but it hasn't. And the ghosting system has ruined Ratica's race. This time it wasn't Ratica's fault, and that is crucial for the championship. Might we even see a safety car, but Ratica's retired manually. That's so unlucky for him. He might have caught up due to penalties towards the end, and that is so unlucky for the championship leader, who's had his first retirement last week and had his second retirement in 2 weeks now, and his championship lead is going down more and more. But due to the fact that Ghost is leading that race and is not anywhere near the championship fight, that might just save him a little bit, and Gavin's only in P4, and that gap between Ghost and Houseman is getting bigger and bigger. We've got 3 laps to go in this race, and we have no idea who can win this.
Absolutely not. Ghost, if it stays as it is right now, Ghost is going to be our 9th different winner in 9 races. It's quite incredible, really. It's such a shame for Ratica, and I have to say, we were talking so much about his consistency earlier on this season, but now 2 DNFs in a row. Of course, this evening definitely not his fault, but his title bid starts to fall apart. Nino's off the road.
I can't believe it, Nino. Our previous week's race winners just thrown away a possible victory. So Nino's probably out of contention. 6.4 seconds behind. His tyres are dirty. He's going to lose more and more time now. He's probably out of that fight.
I don't believe it. Nino, for me, was driving such a good race, and he's just made that one little mistake there, and you've just seen how much this track is wreaking havoc on these drivers. And well, Ghost has now got the lead up to 3.5 seconds. He's in a great spot, and Leon is looking potentially at making a move on Cortez, but he can't quite do so. I wonder if those Mercedes ahead of him are sort of working together in a way to try and keep the AlphaTauri behind. It wouldn't be the worst strategy in the world, but I have to say, Hausmann still in second. What an incredible job he's doing.
Yeah, he's doing great so far, and we've only got 2 laps to go when we cross the line here, and it's only 2 laps away from that second place right now, it looks like. And yeah, like I said, I have no idea what about penalties. We're going to check at the end of this race, or when we cross the finish line actually. With 2 laps to go now, it seems like Ghost is going to be the winner, and our 9th different winner in 9 races this season, which is incredible to think about. But Gavin is not giving up just yet. He wants that second spot at least, and he's got 1 lap fresher tyres, and that mistake Nino just made there might have also been due to his tyre wear. Remember, he's on 2 lap older tyres than Gavin, who is currently in P3, and 1 lap older tyres than Ghosts, and those mediums won't feel all too great for him now.
Definitely not, and of course, as it stands, if Gavin takes third, he'll be level on points for Attica, but if he can get that extra place, he'll take the lead in the championship for the first time. So you might not know that, but this is a massive opportunity for him, and he should be able to pass Hausmann, but as we've seen already, that's easier said than done. Obviously, Hausmann hasn't got the help of Gio around him now, but he's still, his pace isn't that bad, it has to be said, considering, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. I absolutely am convinced now that the 2 Mercs are working together to keep 6th and 7th, and obviously nothing in the rules against it, and they're doing a good job. Leon's got the fastest lap, but his progress has been slightly curtailed somewhat by those 2 Mercedes cars as we're about to enter the final lap of the race. Can Hausmann hang on to second, or is he about to have it taken away?
It's looking difficult to stay ahead on this straight now as he tries to defend the inside line, it looks like. But no, he's not, and that's the wrong camera angle. As they're going side by side, and Hausmann has only got the outside line, and that's going to be difficult to hold, and he can't hold that Williams back, and it's all looking like it's going to be a Williams 1-2 in this race, as Lewis and Cortez are going side by side, and it seems like the Merc teamwork has gone out the window, because it's the final lap and now they're going for it. And look at Cortez, they're still side by side through the entire S section. Now Cortez has got the inside line for the Dunlop curve, and what a move he's been setting up there, and now he's gone past his teammate. I'm pretty sure Lewis is not going to be happy about that at all, and now he's fallen into the grasps of Leon as well, maybe, as he's very, very close to the rear of him. And there goes Leon now. He's got the outside line for the hairpin, so it's going to be difficult to set up that move. Also worth to mention that Gelato was really close to Hausmann, but there goes Leon on the traction. He gets the Mercedes. That's a great move from him. That's a great effort. And Gelato has got that final lap, has got the final run up to 130R and up to the chicane to get past. Nino has closed up back again. Maybe Nino's going for a last lap lunge as well for P3 or P4 maybe. And it looks like Gelato is close enough to Hausmann. He's got an awkward opportunity now. He's a bit too close, but maybe he's going for the outside line as he's going for it in the final chicane. That is the move for the podium, and he goes around the outside and he makes the move stick as Ghosts crosses the line to win the race, and Nino's trying to get the outside line, but he can't make it.
Oh, but Hausmann gets on the podium due to penalties, so Ghost wins. Gavin second. He was only a second behind his teammate in the end.
And
Hausmann
Leon
beats Nino by a tenth. Leon gets up to 5th, so that's a great effort from him with penalties. Obviously didn't pick any up. Gelato falls to 6th. I can't believe he's actually finished behind his teammate in the end. Cortez 7th, Lewis 8th, Scholes in 9th, only 8 thousandths behind Lewis, and McPaper collects points in his second F5 race, so points in both of his first 2 races. I don't think McPaper will be too disappointed with that either.
Yeah, that was an incredible race, and yeah, it was right. Ghosts had that penalty and Gavin didn't, so he needed that gap, and in the end it was down to 9 tenths that he beat his teammate by. And yeah, that was so exciting. And Hausmann on 25 lap old hards on that old strategy. I told you he might try and go till the end of this race on those tyres, and he tried it and he made it work. I don't think he would have been anywhere near that podium if he went for a usual strategy. Driver of the day, it says Leon, but for me it's definitely Hausmann, who took 3rd on 25 lap old hards. That was an incredible race, and we have actually got a 9th different winner in 9 races. I'm not sure if that has ever happened in the history of PSGL, but that is incredible. And Ghosts finally takes that top step of the podium ahead of his teammate Gavin, who takes the lead in the championship.
I just want to say as well, Red Bull's collapse in the constructors continues, and no score here today because Hausman, of course, is only a reserve, so he was only in that car because it was available, with Furhan not being here. But Williams were 29 points behind Red Bull coming into this, but thanks to this 1-2, they'll now only be 1 point behind them. And I have to say right now, Williams have all the momentum, and Red Bull are in somewhat of a mini crisis here.
Yes, they are. It seems like it's all falling apart for them, but it's not falling apart for Ghosts, as he takes his first win of the season, makes it 9 out of 9 for PSGL F5. What an incredible job he's done, and Gavin takes second, only 9 tenths behind his teammate due to penalties. Hausman, incredible job with that very odd strategy, takes third. Nino takes fourth, only just missed out in the end. Then Leon takes fifth. Good job from him. Gelato drops down to sixth on penalties. Cortez finishes seventh ahead of Lewis, Schultz, and McPaper, who picks up his second points finishing position. That's what I wanted to say.
And just to emphasise how amazing this is for Gavin as well. Not only does he now take the lead in the championship, he was the only one in the top 6 of the championship to score points here. Just to sort of give us another reason why this league is so incredibly crazy and unpredictable.
That is just great stuff. And once again, Japan has not failed to deliver for us. So I'm just going to invite our podium finishers, starting off with Ghost. So I need to talk a little bit now, as the viewers sadly can't hear you, as I can't invite Ghosts, which is awful because he's in a party and it just sends me to his party, which is not what I want. So it seems like I'll have to invite him in a different way. Yes, I'll have to do the same for Gavin then. And where is Houseman? Hopefully he's not in an open party. Seems like he is not. I can definitely invite him. That is good stuff. And now I just need to invite Gavin and Ghosts if I can, hopefully. So let's check if that's possible. Here is Gavin and here is Ghosts, and both have received an invite. And what a race once again. I mean, Williams won to 9th different winner in 9 races. That is incredible.
Hello.
So we've got our first podium finisher in the party. So we're just waiting on the other guys to join. Someone is joining, that is Ghosts, and Gavin is on his way to join as well, as he has joined now. So lads, message for all of you, please make sure you've got your microphone or your voice on shared so the viewers can actually hear you on stream. And I'd say if everyone has checked if they have actually done that, we'll start off with our race winner. First time winner this season. And our 9th different winner in 9 races, which is an unbelievable stat. So huge congratulations to you, Ghosts. And just tell us how you feel right now with that 3-second time penalty and getting that gap in the end to win the race.
Absolutely delighted. Absolutely delighted. The last few weeks, I've kind of been a bit upset with all of the doubt, like the unluckiness with the safety cars and things like that. So, like, to actually have a race go my way, so happy. So happy.
Obviously, you went a bit different on strategy than some other guys around you. Rataka and Gelato especially were very quick on the first stint. Switched onto hards, and crucially 1 lap earlier than you did, and you tried to make the undercut work. You passed Rataka right before he entered the pit lane, and you stayed in front of him during your overcut, and then you came out right behind Gelato. So was that actually, like, did you actually expect to be that close to Gelato after your overcut, or did you rather think that you were going to have the advantage by catching up just to be on the quicker tyre?
To be honest, I think I might. I had the intention of trying to get Galeto because I had green sectors in first and second. Because like being stuck behind the people with like, their guys, before, I was like overtaking the first like 10 laps. I was kind of not really showing my true pace. And once I actually had some fresh air, I was actually able to like put the lap in. So yeah, it was. I wouldn't say I expected to get past Galeto, but I expected to be a lot closer than I was going into the pits.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job, and it seems like your favorite spot for overtaking by far in this race was the chicane, and it's so tight through there, and usually it's not a spot where we see that many overtakes, but I think you've not done a move anywhere else around this track apart from the chicane, and like you made a mistake, then lost the spot to Gelato for a second, I think,
Yeah.
or I'm not sure if it was Gelato, but you straight away dived it down the inside very cleanly and got the move done. Just how do you do that? How do you overtake with such ease?
So what I do, my tactic is to run overtake, coming out the corner, and then as they react with me using overtake, I turn mine off. So I sit in a slipstream, and then just before 130, I re-enable it, and they're just going through there with no overtake because they think I'm not a threat, and I come out of nowhere and I just try and make the move. That's my tactic through there. It works quite well.
It did work quite well. I'd even say it worked very, very well for you. And now with your first win in the bag, I don't think we really need to speak about championship intentions, because I think that that is a thing of the past already, due to some unlucky streaks of events for you. But you've always been quite up there in every single race. You've always had the pace. And like, what are your plans for the rest of the season? Are you just trying to help maybe your teammate win the championship, or just go flat out?
I think more go flat out. I mean, obviously I would happily help Gavin at some points, but I would like the wins and now and again. But I think more my plan is now to go with Gavin and just win the Constructors. We're going to try and, with that result, we've just completely turned the Constructors Championship around, with Red Bull not scoring any points.
Yeah, Red Bull at the moment really struggling. And you two guys have been doing great stuff throughout the last couple of weekends, and now you have taken your first victory. And next week we're back in Asia. We're staying in Asia, and we're heading to China. So how do you feel about that? Are you willing to take another victory and maybe even become the first driver of the season to take 2 victories?
The thing is, I always say I'm not strong at a track, and then I turn out to have a good result. So I'm not going to really say I'm not confident, but at the same time, I haven't really had too much of a past of good results at China. So we'll just have to see what happens.
All right. So amazing result today. Huge congratulations on your win, and hopefully you will have your streak of bad luck gone now completely.
Yeah, maybe that's just opened the door.
Hopefully, and good luck for next week and for the rest of the season as well.
Thank you.
So Jake, once again, as always, if you would take our second place finisher.
Yeah, so congratulations, Gavin, on second place. First thing I want to do is give you some good news. You're actually the only person in the top 6 of the championship to score tonight and have taken the championship lead as a result. Just sum up your thoughts after the race on that one.
Yeah, that was just an amazing race. I'm really happy for Jordan to take his first win, and I think he's the 9th different winner in this tier. But overall, I'm really happy to lead the championship right now. I'm looking forward to for the next round, and of course, Jordan and I are pushing for the constructors. And I calculated already, and we are 1 point behind Red Bull. So it's going to be really tight, but still, I'm really happy that I'm leading the championship right now, and for the result for the team and for me as well. So yeah.
And obviously you two did the longest stints at the start of a race on the soft tyres. Was that something you'd planned before the race, and were you a little bit disappointed you didn't get to pit first?
Well, we were just like having a look what strategy is quicker, but people said like soft medium is around 2/3 seconds quicker. So yeah, we went for soft mediums in the end.
And obviously you did that extra lap on the softs at the end of the first stint, and obviously rejoined sort of at the back of the group, so to speak. Were you a little bit worried as to how far you dropped down when you came out of the pits?
Yeah, Nino had just a good undercut on me, but that was lucky. There was a massive train ahead of me, and just basically was sitting behind, a little bit of pushing, and just unfortunate that Nino just lost it coming out of the ashes, but it was good for me, and in the end, P2.
Absolutely, and in terms of Gio and Hausman, who of course ran that strategy to pit under the safety car and go on to hards and take them to the end of a race, how much did they play a factor in how your race went in the latter stages?
Oh yeah, they really helped me out. Gio spun in the end. I think Nino had wing damage as well because I think Nino didn't knew he was gonna break so early or something. And Gio spun, so that was one free position for me, and I wanted to overtake Houseman on the final lap just to finish P2 on track without like getting moved up by a penalty.
And obviously, you've both touched upon the fact that the constructors' battle is now incredibly close between you and Red Bull. Obviously, you guys have the momentum at the moment. What do you think you can win the constructors?
If it goes like this, of course, and I think the last couple of 2 or 3 weeks, Jordan wasn't racing, so just lucky that I bring out the results last couple of weeks to keep like the constructors alive.
And of course, looking ahead, as Felix touched upon, we're in China next week. How do you feel like that track will go for you? And also, will you feel any extra pressure now that you're the championship leader?
To be honest, China is, I think, one of my weakest tracks on the calendar. So yeah, I'm really gonna practice for it, and yeah, I'm really gonna hope for the best. But yeah, it's gonna take a lot of practice to get this track in my mind completely. Yeah, just hope. Let's see what China will bring.
No worries at all. Congratulations on your second consecutive second place. And who knows, you might be getting interviewed by me again next week.
Thank you.
And then we're coming up to our final podium finisher, a very surprising visitor to the podium, if I'm honest, Houseman. First of all, huge congratulations on your P3 today with a very, very odd strategy. And as you pitted on lap 1, I said to Jake that you might be going for a very odd strategy call and take these tyres to the end, but we both didn't really believe in you. But you've proven us both wrong. And just tell us, how did you make the tyres work and keep up that amount of pace to hold on to third?
Thank you. I was just, it was so difficult. I knew from other league race I did it was possible, but I had to save a lot, and I was lucky to stay in the DRS of Matt Tibbs a long time to get some pace. But at the end, it was just surviving. It's just luck that I didn't got a puncture. My tires were at around 85% or something like that.
So a bit of luck is always needed. Obviously, is always needed in motorsport, and you've had that, but just that luck was just a tiny little bit of your entire race, which was so much skill and so much commitment. Was there any point where you thought about actually making another pit stop, or were you fully committed and always planning on going to the end?
I just wanted to risk it. If I pitted, I would have been outside the points for sure. Then I wouldn't take any points. That's just, yeah, I didn't. It was just not worth it. And if I didn't pit into the safety car, I would have probably got overtaken at the restart. And I had nothing to lose at the back.
Yeah, you've made a great strategy call with that, but your pace was really good. Is that some sort of driving style you've got, that your tires are not wearing out that much? Because it seemed like Gio, I think it was it Gio who also stayed out, Jake?
I think he got a puncture a few laps before the end.
Gio, no, I think he spun.
Or just spun.
He had a crash with someone else. He came together, and yeah, Gio was struggling quite a lot more than you. But is that some sort of driving style you've got to save the tires and still have such good pace?
I was just not trying to lock up and just try a little bit to drive carefully. But it was just luck. I don't know. Maybe I had a good setup, but I wasn't really saving that much.
Yeah, but it definitely worked out in the end, and with such a good result, basically coming out of nowhere. Now, what are your expectations for China next week? Maybe try some odd strategy as well, or just have a more relaxed race, more or less?
Yeah, then I think points will be difficult. China is my first track of the calendar, so I don't expect that much.
Alright, but you still did a very good job, a great job, and you are my personal driver of the day with the strategy you've made and the pace you've had. So huge congratulations on that P3. And yeah, good luck for next week.
Thank you.
Alright then, that is it once again for another crazy round of PSGL F5. I don't think we can complain at any point in the season that this division is boring. I mean, 9 different winners in 9 races, and it's probably the most exciting division I've been commentating about over. And like the racing is clean at 99% of the time as well. At least in this race it was. I didn't see any dirty driving, and I don't know. Any words for you from you, Jake? Anything to add to that?
Well, I'm interested to see how things go going forward to China. We've got the first non-Red Bull Championship leader of the season, so I'm interested to see how that develops, how Rattica can respond going forward. And as mad as it sounds, I'm thinking we might get a 10th different winner next week.
Who knows? I mean, in this division, anything can happen, and it's looking to be a thriller towards the end of the season in terms of a championship fight as well. But yeah, once again, Jake, thank you very much for joining me. It was always, as always, a big pleasure commentating with you, and was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week once again.
Yeah, no problem. Great to have you alongside me again, as always.
And yeah, with that being said, thanks everyone for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. As always, we have been trying to do our best, and it's not really difficult to deliver when the race is that good. So hopefully next week is going to be no different. And yeah, we're going to be back in 1 week then, same time, Monday, 7 p.m. UK time. And then we are heading to China. We are staying in Asia. And yeah, hopefully we'll see something incredible once again. Today was an absolute thriller. And I'm getting used to saying that at the end of every stream, because this division is just great to commentate over. And I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, make sure to tune in next week once again. Make sure to tune in to the other streams as well, as F1 is live right now. And yeah, also F4 was at the same time as F5. So make sure to check out those streams as well. And yeah, until then, see you next week. Take care.